Hello and welcome, this is Gunner, and we're back with some more BattleTech and my continued look at the backer beta build and the single player skirmish mode found within. This video will be a return to the gimmick builds, as the most recent update added in a new weapon system, and I've already done gimmick builds based off of some other weapon systems like PPCs, autocannons, missiles, lasers. And now we have a new weapon system added in with the fire starter. So not only will this be focused on a weapon system, it'll be focused on a particular mech, because this mech is the only mech that currently has flamers. So the mech in question is the fire starter. It has a total of 4 flamers, which is again going to be the focus of this video. As a backup, we have 2 medium lasers and 2 machine guns. We also have jump jets on this mech. And it is a... Is it a 35-ton mech? Yeah, 35 tons. So these are all light mechs, and I have chosen the pilots based off of the idea of using them as a light attacking force. So we have pilots like Paradise, which in my opinion is well suited for a fire starter. You've got the Angel of Death ability, which gives you good distance on your jump jets, and then you also have the evasive move ability that's going to give you more evasion charges. Alright, with that being said, the map we'll be running is the Sunset Desert map. I want to be able to punish our opponent with the flamers, heat them up, and that's what we're going to go for. It's a random opponent. It does appear that with the new update that the random opponent is actually working, as I am seeing different opponents when I select it. Now we will be a little bit weak as far as gunnery skill goes with the pilots I chose, as they are mostly built around scouting. At least a couple of them are. And although their tactics skill may be high, their gunnery skill is low. That is part of the balance changes that they've done. They've changed up a lot of the pilots quite a bit. That's another thing that I'm having to get used to with this new update.
Command enter.
Ooh.
The hellhole.
I apologize there. I accidentally clicked out of the window. Okay, there we go. So we got our 4 fire starters. Now, I don't necessarily have a set strategy here for this particular map. We're going to want to use the terrain, so probably getting in behind here or behind these other rock outcroppings would be a good idea. Another thing to keep in mind is
What do you need?
the mineral field. So the mineral field is going to... Oh, they've changed this. So interferes with targeting systems. +4 difficulty hit units within a mineral field, +2 difficulty for attacks made by units within a mineral field. So you have both a defensive bonus and an attacking debuff. So it works both ways. But if you don't want to get shot, being in one of these energy fields is, or mineral fields, I should say, is a good thing to be. Now that is quite a bit different than the way it used to work. It used to give a buff to energy weapons that were targeting units within the mineral field. So that has definitely changed. And I was curious to see if flamers would count for that, because technically flamers are energy weapons, but they've changed that. So we aren't even going to be able to test that. All right, for now, I think I'm just going to go ahead and sprint this mech over into this forest over here.
I hear ya.
We'll sprint Witness over here.
Moving out.
And for the meantime, I think I'm going to go ahead and keep my pilots together.
Copy that.
They all have similar speed, so... they'll be able to keep up with each other. When I say similar, exactly the same speed. What I might do, though, after this turn is branch off. So I'll take these 2 over this direction, these 2 over this direction. We'll kind of set up 2 attack zones.
What can I do for you?
As far as builds go, I don't think that this build is a particularly smart one, as I think the strength of the fire starter is in ambushing attacks and having your entire lance built around mechs that are ambushers like that.
Yep.
I don't know if that's a particularly good idea, but I guess we'll find out through the course of this. Now again, if we don't plan on attacking this turn, It seems like being within the mineral field is actually a good thing. If we can't have cover, we at least have a defensive bonus while we're here. Unless I'm misreading that, but I think I'm understanding it correctly. Okay, go ahead and have blockade come in behind this rock here. Rough terrain reduces movement speed and causes units to take 150% stability damage from all attacks. +4 difficulty to hit units within rough terrain with melee attacks. So that's a melee attack specifically. We'll move there for now. We don't want to have our stability knocked down and not be able to sprint anymore.
Reporting.
And we'll move Paradise right in behind.
Certainly.
And if it comes down to it, we can probably jump over this rock with what kind of jumping movement that we have. This is a fairly big map, so not sure if we'll get contact this turn. The way I did set up my pilots here, though, or, yeah, my mechs with the pilots that they have, is I put both of my scout pilots over to the left. I probably should have had one scout go one way, one scout go the other, because I have all of my tactics skill over here. So it's possible we might, well, I don't know if that's really going to affect sensor range, though, so
Waiting on you, Commander.
we'll continue to move around here. I don't want to go out too far. So we'll just move to there.
No sweat. Yeah.
Have arc light come in behind.
Let's move.
One thing I think I should work on more is my facing. Especially keeping in mind that mechs that have jump jets can face however they want when they jump. So I should probably face in a way that is better for possible engagements in the future and get in the habit of doing that. Rather than face a rock wall where I can't see anything, if an opponent were to come around here, they get an easy rear attack, or at least side attack. So, not really a good idea, in my opinion. Alright, let's come in behind this rock. Hopefully that will block line of sight.
Roger.
And we might establish sensor contacts just by this move. Nope, not yet.
You have orders?
And we'll keep Paradise with blockade for now. Now, the one thing that I'm not particularly a fan of is the ammunition that the Flamers have. Only having 3 shots seems a little bit too low. As I have already stated in, at least I think I stated this in a previous video, the way that this works in the tabletop game, Flamers have no ammo limit. They are energy weapons that you can fire continuously. Now, I have a feeling that this change has been made for balance purposes. But that does make it quite a bit different than the tabletop game. So it is a learning process. And personally, I think something that I would like to see changed. For now, I'm just going to reserve. So we see 2 light mechs and 2 medium mechs.
My sensors detect a new asset.
Unfortunately, again, my lower tactics skill is on this side, so we're not getting any information about these mechs at the moment. Not until we move up our scouts to get them within sensor range where we know more. Okay, I'm going to reserve again. Let their light mechs move
For
up,
the right move.
kind of respond to it. So this one is in range of our scouts, so we know it's a 20-ton mech. I think the only 20-ton mech in the game right now is a Locust, so that's for sure a Locust. Let's go ahead and reserve again. I think this mech here is a medium mech. So if I were to guess at what this loadout is, I've seen this loadout before, I think, and I think this is 2 Locusts. I don't remember what the medium mechs are. So this guy here has moved into that mineral field, so we know he's got a defensive bonus for being there. Alright, well, we know we have an advantage because we have arc light, they do not. So we can move into a position to attack this turn and know that we could retreat next turn without too many problems. So I could move here or here, establish line of sight, and attack this turn, and then next turn I could jump away and be unharmed. But if that's the case, we're probably going to want to establish sensor locks here before we make such moves. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select Witness instead.
I hear you.
And we're going to move, put ourselves within sensor range of these two mechs. And I'm going to try and combat their light mechs first. So again, when I'm talking about my facing like this, although I am facing the enemy, this makes absolutely no sense because they cannot, unless they jump up on top of here, which if this is a locust, we're fairly certain that they can't. This is not a really good facing. So facing more like this is probably more appropriate for the enemies that I see. So that's what I'm going to try and do and get myself into the habit of doing as well. But again, the counter to that is if they did jump up on top of this, they could technically possibly get my rear. All right, let's go ahead and sensor lock. I'm going to go for the, I'm assuming a locust here. Okay, so we've stripped any evasive bonus this locust has, but it still has guard. So it's going to be hard to do damage to it, but it's a locust. Locusts don't have great armor. So even with what we can attack, we might be able to do good damage here. So I'm going to follow this up with the plan that I had before. We're going to jump over here. I'm going to jump here because I think this gives us good positioning to jump away. Unfortunately, I'm only going to be able to hit them with our medium lasers, which is not a ton of firepower.
Understood.
Okay, there we are. Let's go ahead and fire off our two medium lasers. Again, they are in this mineral deposit, though, so they are hard to hit still. Hopefully, we will get some hits here. All right, one hit to the leg. We can see, even with the guard, we stripped the armor of that locust, so that was still worthy damage. Okay, now we have line of sight over here. So this is a Shadowhawk. This is going to be a very hard target with how many evasion charges it's built up and the fact it's sitting in a mineral field like that. Pretty tricky to deal with. Problem is, neither Blockade or Paradise has sensor lock, so we won't be able to remove any evasion charges if we wanted to. Honestly, this turn might be more about getting a position. So I'm not going to make it easy on my opponent. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to sprint. And I'm trying to get into a position where we can attack next turn. I'm afraid if we move here, they might be able to see me. It's possible they won't be able to. But I'm also trying to make it so they don't have an obvious... I think we're going to run back here. Get in behind this rock. And again, facing this way makes no sense. So we're going to face like this.
Confirmed.
And with jump jets, it doesn't matter about my facing. It does matter with my movement. And that's another reason why facing matters. If I'm going to continue moving in this direction, we're already facing that way and it's not going to be a problem. So here, because I face this direction, it makes it a lot harder for me to move in this direction. So that's kind of what I'm talking about with that. All right, so let's sprint over this way. And not give them a clear avenue of attack. So again, I'm going to face in a direction that I think makes the most sense. So I'm going to face like that.
Of course.
Now, a Shadowhawk can't jump, and I just realized that that might cause us to be in a little bit of problems for next turn. Now, it doesn't have a huge amount of jumping distance, but it may be able to jump on top of here and hit my fire starter. Now, we sprinted and we kept moving, so hopefully that will be an advantage to us. All right, so Arc Light is now out in the open. We don't want her to continue to be out in the open, so we're going to want to jump out of contact. So I'm going to go ahead and jump in here. I don't think this is a bad spot. And we can sensor lock as well.
Got it.
So that we maybe can take advantage of opponents. So we use our sensor lock. This is what's going to allow us to be able to do hit and run attacks pretty effectively. I think I'm going to go ahead and sensor lock the... It's actually tough. Do we want to sensor lock the Locust or do we want to sensor lock the Shadowhawk? I'm going to go with the Shadowhawk here. Even though it's likely we'll be able to establish a line of sight without that sensor lock, at least it burns through some of the evasion that mech built up. It does look like the AI is using these mineral fields to their advantage, staying within them, which makes it tougher on me. All right, at this point, I'm going to go ahead and reserve. Allow their light mech to go. So again, keeping within the mineral fields, making it tough on me. We may be able to attack that locust again, but the problem with that attack is it would leave our fire starter open. Alright, so as I've already said, this guy has jump jets. He could jump up here and see this fire starter. But I'm going to take that risk by reserving again.
An intelligent man understands the need for patience.
Ooh. Did we get sensor locked up? It looks like we did. So arc light guide sensor locked up. That's another thing I'm going to have to get used to, is the AI using those things against me. Okay, so now we have possible targets here. How badly did we get damaged there? A little bit of damage.
What can I do for you?
Okay, so Witness can move over this way and establish a sensor lock on the other medium mech if that's the route we want to go. And I think it is. I don't know if I want to move here, though, because I might be out in the open. So why don't we move in the mineral field? And I will face my opponent here, so they don't get a side shot. Okay. And we're going to sensor lock this mech here. Okay, so that is their other locust. And it appears that they are counted as being in the mineral field, so they're going to be a hard target to hit. I would prefer to take out those locusts if I can. But the question is whether or not we can. So let's first start with Paradise, as Paradise is in the better position here. So I could move here, or I could jump. And again, I can jump away anytime that I make one of these jumps. As a matter of fact, a jump over here wouldn't necessarily be a bad call, because I can get within my range of my machine guns. And then I could jump away behind another rock. For example, this rock over here. So we might even want to go in for a rear attack here. So that would be here. That would be a max jump, so we're going to heat up quite a bit. But we will remove the guard status of this locust. We'll be able to attack the locust, and then next turn, the locust may be able to counterattack me, but it has LRMs, so it won't have necessarily a ton of damage. And if we really focus our damage here, we may be able to kill it. So let's try this. I think it's a good call. I'm not going to use my flamers because I don't think that that's necessarily a good idea. So we can see that this is a pretty extremely hard target to hit with things being what they are. But we're still going to go for it. He might be a problem next turn when we jump away. I can turn off the medium lasers, but I think we're going to go for it. We might be able to kill this mech. Okay, so we managed to blow off the left torso and the left arm. That is a significant amount of the damage that the mech can use. Now, if I can, I'd like to do the same thing with Blockade, but the problem is with Blockade that I don't have that Angel of Death, so I'm not going to have the same jumping distance. I can jump in front and probably use my machine guns, and then next turn we'll jump in behind this rock probably to avoid confrontation with the medium mechs. Out of curiosity, though, what are the medium mechs? Oh, okay, a trebuchet. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and move in here and do our attack. This is going to be on the side rather than the rear. But if we land, we might do good damage. So again, we're going to turn off the flamers, and we're just going to fire medium lasers and machine guns here, and we're hoping for a kill if we can get it. And we managed to get it. So that works pretty well. So that's one opponent that could potentially sensor lock us and could potentially also counterattack us. So pretty good. All right, so at this point, we're going to go ahead and reserve. We're going to allow this light mech to move. And we'll see what it does. I missed the sensor lock it did in the last turn, so I'm going to have to pay a little bit closer attention. Okay, so it's going to fire off some LRMs. Pretty long range, and we have quite a bit of evasion up, so those all missed. Okay, so at this point, we can more or less... Let's do the obvious moves first, and that's the disengages from the medium mechs here. We do not want to eat damage. The question is, can we get away with it with a sprint? Because that will save us a lot on heat. So I'm going to sprint away at this point. Again, Shadowhack has jump jets, so that might be a potential threat if we're not careful. But we did build up a lot of evasion doing that. And then Paradise, probably going to do a similar thing. If we can sprint away, I prefer to do that. And we're going to get in behind this rock here. It's possible they may be able to get to me if I make this move. But they don't have nearly the running speed that I do. One problem that I have, though, is I'm giving my back if I do that. Let's see if there's another move that we can do here. Okay, well, we're probably going to give our back if they can get to us either way.
As you wish.
But we are going to get in behind this rock and break this line of sight. Okay. And that's also going to save us heat because we didn't jump. Alright, now we're going to attack the other locust. So I'm going to start with Witness here. We're going to try a jump. No, I can't get close enough, so I'm just going to use sensor lock here with Witness rather than try an attack. So we'll move to just a normal move. We'll come over this way. And again, we want to face in a way that makes sense for the opponent that we have. Use sensor lock on the locust to try and remove any evasion that it may have, which more than likely has a few because it is a locust after all. Still going to be tough to attack in the mineral field, but we'll do our best.
What do you need?
Okay, now we're going to go for an attack here. We already have jumped quite a bit here, so jumping again will be risky just from a heat standpoint. I think I'm just going to move over, do a normal move, attack, and then we'll go from there. So that means only a couple medium lasers are going to land here.
Heading out.
But we might be able to follow up this move next turn with Arc Light to hit this locust again. So just the medium lasers.
Okay, I'm on it.
Okay, good damage there. Pretty good chance that we'll be able to take this mech out next turn. Oh, okay. You know, I realized there was a possibility that the trebuchet is going to open fire here on Arc Light because we are in vision. Took a little bit of damage there, but the range involved was in our favor. All right.
Yeah?
So honestly, with Arc Light, we want to stay in front of this mech because with that move, we'll be hitting we'll be hitting the already damaged center torso possibly with our machine guns, and that would be ideal if we can land it. Problem is, if I make this move, I'm going to be a sitting duck, so that is a little bit of a problem, but I'm hoping that we'll be able to take out the Locust. The Locust has extremely thin armor, and a good salvo here might do the job. I'm going to turn off the flamers again, though, because I think that's better used on the heavier mechs. So hopefully we get lucky here. Hit the center torso with one of our weapons. Okay, so we just blew off an arm for now. So this Locust is going to be able to respond to me. Now, it's fairly close range for an LRM attack, so I'm actually surprised as many of those landed as they did. We're going to follow this up, though, because we want to take this mech out if we can. I may even jump in here to try and ensure that we get machine guns on this guy.
Taking the high road.
And we're going to open up with the machine guns and the lasers. Again, no flamers. Save those for the medium mechs.
Tell me what to shoot.
And we have a really good chance here, if we land with anything. Okay, we blew off the leg, which is good for next turn because it will remove initiative for that mech. It's possible we also cut line of sight, but I'm not exactly positive on how that works. And it doesn't necessarily show the line of sight here. Okay, so the rest of our mechs, I think we're going to go ahead and reserve. Let the medium mechs go.
Holding for an advantage.
Now, I wonder if this initiative loss is going to carry over for next turn. All right, so as I said, there was a possibility they'd be able to establish line of sight. So we are going to take some damage there. Fortunately, a lot of that did miss.
Skills are not impressive.
That also means that the Shadowhawk is probably going to be able to follow up on that attack. But we're going to let it go for now. Okay, another established line of sight. So I always knew that that was a possibility. Fortunately, we have managed to avoid it. And now we can attack freely our opponents. So you're not really hurt on heat. You're not really hurt on heat. So we probably will be better off focusing on a particular opponent. Question is, can Paradise with a jump get into a spot to help us here? Well, we will have problems with heat next turn. We also want to get close enough to be able to use the flamers. So this is going to be extremely risky. I'm probably going to have to turn off the medium lasers. Now, I have noticed that one thing they have done with the flamers, they don't actually produce any heat. You'll note that as I turn those on, well, we'll actually have to target this to attack. But the point is, turning off and on the flamers doesn't make a difference. Turning on the medium lasers do. So they've balanced this by, yes, they've added in ammo, but they've reduced the heat charge of firing off a flamer that normally would exist. So flamers work pretty much the same way that machine guns work now. So if we want to remain cool, the best thing to do is just fire off the flamers, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. So we just fire the machine guns and the flamers, and those don't generate heat, so we are going to generate heat, though, on our opponent. Let's see that. Ooh, wow, quite a bit of heat. Oh, actually, no, that's the wrong mech. There we go. Yeah, our mech is heated up. Okay.
Yep.
Now, we want to jump here again because we want to get in behind if we can. We want to focus on that rear armor. And
Roger.
we might be able to get away with more weapons fire from blockade, but we also have to keep in mind I'm probably going to want to jump away. It's possible we might be able to sprint away. But for now, I'm going to turn off one medium laser, and we'll fire everything else.
Roger.
Unfortunately, this is also rear armor here that we're hitting. So again, the heat buildup. Unfortunately, this guy has a pilot that is really good on guts, so we are going to have to work to really build up that heat. Okay, so Arclight gets a chance to finish off the enemy mech here. I think I'm going to move a little bit so that we get into a position next turn to be able to move. So we're going to move here, fire off our medium lasers and our machine guns like we did last turn. At least I hope we're in range of the machine guns. Okay, there we go. Still a hard shot, but we're going to go for a cold shot on the center torso. And this should hopefully finish off our opponent. Boom, okay. And now we've eliminated the light mechs that our opponent has. And now we're going to use our mechs to try and take out these medium mechs. The trebuchet is a bit away, but we have to keep in mind that our opponent here can establish a line of sight for the trebuchet, and then the trebuchet could be using that line of sight to really punish us. So we have to probably play it safe here and do hit and run attacks. So
I hear you.
for now, I think I am going to move. I actually cannot move far enough to get either of these mechs within sensor lock range, so we're just going to sprint here and come over in this direction. We might be out in the open, but we have good evasion charges here if we are, so I'm not too worried about it. So Blockade and Paradise are going to try and run. We're going to use Sprint here to try and break away. Looks like if we run over this way, we might get away, but I have to keep in mind that this mech may be able to come in behind me if it comes up on top of this ridge and see me. So, yes, I'm blocking line of sight now, but I can't necessarily guarantee that that line of sight will remain blocked. Here, this is really dicey. I don't think this mech might only have to get to here to be able to see me. It's really hard to tell line of sight necessarily. So, I'm not too worried about it. So for now, I think I am going to move a little bit so that we get into a position next turn to be able to move. So we're going to go for a cold shot on the center torso. Okay, there we go. Still a hard shot, but we're going to go for a cold shot on the center torso. So I think we run this way. Because our opponent will have to turn around. Now, of course, we are giving our rear armor to our opponent, so this is extremely dangerous what I'm doing here. But I'm going to try and sprint away.
Roger.
Use that time that we sprint away to cool off a bit as well. And we'll do the same thing with Paradise. And we do have good evasion charges when we sprint like this, so that's good. Unfortunately, the terrain is rather rough in this direction, so it's going to be rather hard to sprint away, so I'm probably going to have to jump here. This will guarantee that we jump away, but it will cause us to shut down, so that's kind of dangerous. I think I'm going to take the shutdown, though, as I do not want to get hit here.
Going skyward.
Oh, yeah, we'll just brace. So,
Ah, the heat is too much.
question is, can this mech get into a position to see me? It appears no. Okay, so now it's Arclight's turn. This is going to take time, unfortunately, and because it's going to take time, because we have to spend time waiting for our mechs to be ready for this attack, I might not get the heat buildup that I was looking for. Really, honestly, we want all 4 of our mechs attacking in a situation where we want to build up that heat. So those were not necessarily bad attacks. They were just ones that I really couldn't easily follow up on. Where did that other trebuchet, or where did the trebuchet end up? I'm not exactly sure. All right, well, we'll just run over here. I think we'll be safe in this area. Okay, yeah, we didn't have sensor contact before. Now we do. Okay.
Waiting on you, Commander.
Witness won't be able to get anything within sensor range. So again, we'll just spend this time cooling off. That does appear to be a problem with these fire starters as their heat build up. And more than likely the map as well. Okay, Blockade is going to need to keep moving here. So we'll sprint in behind this rock here. And then we'll face this direction so that we can turn back around and come after our opponent.
Just running. Got it.
And then Paradise will just turn him back on. And that will be pretty much the turn.
You have orders?
Fortunately for us, that process, he's now relatively cool. So we're getting close to the point where we can come after this Shadowhawk. We may be able to pull off a 4-prong attack. Might require max jumping to pull off, though. So Arclight, I'm fairly certain, will not be able to get into do this attack. So instead, I'm just going to move. And then I'm going to sensor lock the Shadowhawk to help out the other pilot's attack. Okay. Any evasion charges we may have had, or the Shadowhawk may have had, have been burned off. Although, with how little it moved, I doubt it had anything. So the question is, with Witness, we can get in and hit him with the medium lasers. With a jump, we might be, yeah, just going to be medium lasers here, in my opinion, even with a jump. So we're going to reserve, though. Let the Shadowhawk do what it's going to do. Okay. Continue to reserve. Okay, it's going to face over this direction. It may be able to establish a line of sight. Okay, not quite. So now Witness should be able to pull off an attack. And we'll just hit with the medium lasers. And I'll do the attack from this. Well, we want to make sure we're within range, so that's the main way I can ensure that.
Coordinates received.
We're getting close to having a Fury charge. we're just going to poke him here. A couple medium lasers, remove what evasion he's got. We can turn on the flamers now, just so I don't forget for later, but we should be able to handle the heat of a couple medium lasers just fine. Okay, a little bit of damage there. The rear armor of the Shadowhawk is damaged for sure.
What do you need?
Okay, so unfortunately we're kind of in a dangerous position here because as much as I could jump into a position where I can attack again, I have to be ready for a attack on this mech. So I honestly think that moving up into this wood is probably not a bad strategy. We don't have established line of sight, and we don't have range to even attack if we wanted to, but it gives us another turn to cool off. But it also gives the Shadowhawk a possibility of being able to attack us. So we're going to brace here to mitigate whatever damage may be incoming.
Reporting.
And Paradise is going to follow up with a similar... Let's turn on our medium lasers here. So we're not going to be able to establish range here. So again, we're going to move forward as far as we can. And we're going to take this time to remove what heat we have built up in these mechs. So we're more or less ready to go for next turn. And we have the focus ready to go as well. Alright, well...
Standing by.
I think we just go all out here and try and do as much damage to this mech as we possibly can. And if we heat it up enough, we may be able to shut him down so that he's not even able to counterattack. So I can't get in behind with Arc Light, so instead I'm just going to move here and we're going to do what damage we can.
Roger.
And the more important thing is use our flamers.
Got a sensor trace.
Okay. Let's fire away here.
I'm taking the shot.
So the important thing is that we continue to build up heat on this mech. I don't know if we're going to be able to pull it off, though, to be honest with you. But I'm going to try.
What can I do for you?
Okay, so we're going to jump. This is the more important jump, because we're going to get in behind our opponent. Do continued damage to the rear. This is going to be the one that we need to land, so we're going to focus. Come on, push the button. There we go.
Fired up. There's work to do.
And we're going to fire everything we've got here. Okay, good damage. Managed to strip more of that armor. Now, I'm not going to be able to come in to the rear yet again, so we're going to go for our jumps instead. And I do not necessarily want to be in the middle of the field. It makes me more defendable, yes, but it also makes my chances to hit worse. So
Engaging jump jet.
let's just jump in here, and we're going to do as much damage as we can, and we're also going to do as much heat damage as we can as well. And we are heating this mech up pretty nicely. Okay, so another one, another Flamer Barrage here might do the job. Looks like I can get away with just a walk here. I do have to worry about the Trebuchet, though, and whether or not it's going to have sight lines of us. But if we shut this mech down, that might deal what we are looking for. So we're going to fire everything we've got here.
Target confirmed.
So hopefully we got enough heat there. Yeah, we shut him down. Perfect. What we were looking for. So now the Shadowhawk is a sitting duck. It's going to spend its turn starting up. Unfortunately, that is going to give the Trebuchet the line of sight that we were afraid of. So we're going to see a shot come in on our fire starter that is piloted by Paradise. Fortunately, not... I don't think any of it landed, to be honest with you. Okay, so we're going to need to stay on this guy and keep him in trouble. So we're going to come in behind, go after that rear armor, because that's what's weak.
Roger.
And hopefully we can get another shutdown here. So fire all the weapons.
Here we go.
And honestly, we might get a kill here. Boom. Okay.
Target
That
destroyed.
is stage 2. So stage 1 was to take out the light mech. Stage 2, take out the Shadowhawk. Stage 3, remove the trebuchet from the battle. So at this point,
I hear ya.
it's going to be recollect and cool off our mechs. I think a sprint is okay in this particular case, though. So we're sprint over here. It's going to take a little time to get to the trebuchet, and we don't want to waste what flamer fuel we have until we can get a combined effort like what we did with the Shadowhawk. Because if we can shut down the trebuchet, it's not really a threat, and we don't really have to reserve to meet that threat. Okay, and then finally, Paradise here is going to, again, sprint. And we'll go here. All right. Now, Paradise and Blockade may only have one shot of flamer fuel. At least Paradise only has one shot. Okay, so the trebuchet set itself up defensively. Go ahead and move with Arc Light. I don't think Arc Light is going to be able to get within sensor range, so we're just going to sprint here and form our mechs up.
Moving fast.
And this couple of turns is just going to be about positioning.
What can I do for you?
Okay, Witness is going to come in behind this rock, and we should be within sensor range now. We're going to face this direction because that's the direction we're going to continue to move. And we'll use sensor lock to sensor lock up the trebuchet just to see, well, first off, get line of sight, but also to remove any evasion that it may have already built up. So there it goes. At this point, I think we reserve because we can do a good hit and run attack here. Okay, the trebuchet is going to continue to run, trying looking for better defensive positioning.
Aye, aye.
So Blockade cannot get within range to use the medium lasers effectively, unfortunately. So I think what we're going to have to do is just sprint here and try and get better positioning overall. So we're going to go ahead for that.
All right, full speed.
We will eventually outrun the trebuchet, so it can't keep away from us forever. And Paradise
What's the plan?
is going to also sprint here. I can't sprint and stay out of line of sight, so instead I'll sprint this way.
Confirmed.
Okay. Now it is Arc Light's turn, and Arc Light is a little bit behind the rest of the pilots. So I think what we're going to do here... Well, actually, I want to be able to counter whatever evasion it is able to build up, so I think we're going to start reserving here. Let the trebuchet go, and we'll counter whatever it does. So it's going to move forward a little bit, which actually makes my life a lot easier. Okay, Arc Light is going to move here, get a little bit closer.
On my way.
And then we're going to use Sensor Lock to remove any evasion that the trebuchet has built up since its last move. And then the other mechs can do an attack on it. So we're going to start with Witness, who is the furthest away. We're going to poke with the medium lasers, because that's as close as we can get without jumping. And I'm not ready for the jump yet. If I can't get all three of my mechs jumping in and using the flamers, I'm not going to do that attack. So, for now, we're just going to use the medium lasers. And unfortunately miss. While my opponent stays within this mineral field, it will be tough to deal with them. Okay, let's go ahead and move Blockade here. So, similar thing here, we're just going to move, get positioning, but also poke at our opponent with some medium laser fire. And next turn might be the turn to use the flamers. We'll be able to mask the fire. Honestly, we could have pulled that off with 3 mechs, but I want to use all 4 mechs if I can. So we're going to stay in cover here. And we'll be able to get another couple of medium laser pokes here. And if all I'm doing is firing the medium lasers and I'm doing normal moves, I'm not building up heat, so... Alright, now this is our chance. So, we've got two mechs that really have a good potential of getting in behind the trebuchet, which is what we're looking for. Maybe even three mechs. So Arclight is going to be the opening move. And we are going to jump with her. Oh, jump. Jump, there we go. Jump with her to get her within range. We're not going to use the focus because when we want to use that on the mechs that have the best shot, which would be the shot on the rear. So let's fire that off. Unfortunately, we missed with some of that fire, so it wasn't as effective as it could have been. Let's move with Paradise first. We're going to jump in behind. I do not want to be in the mineral field if I can avoid it. But we are going to get that rear armor here. And hopefully... I am going to use focus at this point, as this is a good opportunity to use it.
Going to enjoy pummeling you.
And fire away.
Good to go.
Honestly, though, using the focus on Arclight might not have actually been a bad call.
What do you need?
Okay, so we're going to... Oh, we can actually do a normal move and get in on the rear armor here, but maybe not get in close enough without moving into the mineral field here. Which is unfortunate, but I almost am willing to take that move. So, let's do that. Again, this might have been a better move to also use the focus, because it might have been able to mitigate the penalty we're about to eat here. We're going to continue to fire here. If we manage to get any more of these flamers, we're going to put our opponent into a dicey situation as far as heat goes. And then hopefully, Witness will be able to finish the deal here with a good jump. Okay, we will be able to jump in behind our opponent, but unfortunately that does mean that we will be in the mineral field yet again. So our chance to hit here is not going to be spectacular. But hopefully we can get a couple of these flamers to land and shut down our opponent. Okay, we managed to get an ammo explosion, which is going to do good damage, and we did manage to shut down our opponent. So now we have pretty much a free turn of just firing upon our opponent here. Or, yeah, pretty much. So next turn we can do pretty much the same thing. Of course, the problem is that we do not have any flamer fuel to continue to heat up the enemy mech, but we can get in behind it. So I'm going to go ahead and use a jump here. And we're going to get up on top of this rock here. Oh. Okay. For a second there, I thought the game glitched, but it didn't. It just... I accidentally clicked on Paradise there. Okay, so we're going to get in on the rear armor. And now it's just going to be up to our medium lasers and machine guns to finish the deal here. And we should be able to deal with this heat. And there's no rear armor to speak of now, so at this point, we've pretty much got our opponent right where we want them. Let's go ahead and open up with an attack from Paradise. Hopefully, again, finishing off our opponent.
I am the superior mech warrior.
Fortunately, a couple misses there, and we were hitting targets that we didn't want to hit.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to continue to move here so that we can get out of the mineral field so we have a better chance to hit here. And fire away. And there we go. We finally managed to take down that trebuchet. So this fight took a little bit more patience because we have these mechs that are very close range, all about close range engagement, and they are lighter mechs, so we have to use them in ambushes and hit and run attacks. I think we did a good job of that. It just requires more time. So whenever you're using a hit and run attack like this, you're using lighter mechs to engage heavier mechs, you have to use tactics like this, I think, to succeed. And it takes time to pull off. But in any case, I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. This is Mouse Gunner, signing out.